City Council meeting, May 5th, 2014, at 4:30. Roll call, please.
Dick Anderson.
Here.
Gordon Eggleton.
Here.
Gary Ellingson. Chester Norakis.
Here.
Henry Quant. Wes Ryan.
Here.
And Roger Spring.
Here. Great. We have a special order of business, a resolution, resolution number 2014-09, a resolution declaring an emergency and exempting the U.S. Highway 101 35th Street Culvert Repair Project from formal competitive bidding requirements pursuant to OAR 137-049-0150 and LCMC 2.05.080.A. How about an explanation?
Last week, you declared an emergency with Resolution 2014-08, and for exactly the same project, except it's not exactly the same project. You declared an emergency for exactly the same emergency because there's this failed culvert, which it turns out was not a 1947 culvert, but probably dates to the 30s. That's under Highway 101, that the ODOT contractor attempted to do some kind of burst method to clear it, and it collapsed further. So there's like 70 feet of collapse culvert, which is our stormwater emergency overflow. So we need it. It's actually permitted. We have a permit for it. And so we declared an emergency because as part of that failed repair, some of the support for that, for the roadway, was washed out. The sands just kind of started going out to the Baldy Creek. And the ODOT also declared an emergency, and they asked us if we could step in and fix it, and they would pay us. And the dollar amount has gone up since this change that I'm going to describe. But essentially, they asked us if we could do the repair. We can do the repair. We got the authorization last week, declared an emergency. In drafting the resolution, I was fairly specific about what we were going to be doing, because at that time, the repair, which they had said they would design, was going to be filling the culvert for the 1930s culvert and placing another new one, not as deep, but in the same location. Since then, they have decided that there should be 2 lines abandoned, so this old 1930s one under the highway, and another one that leads to it would be filled, and then 2 lines will cross the highway, but not nearly as deep. So we're talking about one at like 8 feet, one at 12 feet, or I think it's 6 and 12. I have it in the resolution. But I use the word approximately in case they do it 6.5 feet. So essentially the reason why we're back is because when you declare an emergency and you authorize an emergency procurement, you're limited to fix that emergency. You can't just go off and then start doing other stuff. So I wanted to be clear about what we are authorizing staff to do. And the project, and this isn't staff's fault, ODOT changed the project on Thursday of last week. So after we had approved the resolution, it changed. And it works out, it'll probably be less expensive to do this, because without having to go as deep to address basically the explanation I got is if you start this deep, you're going to have to get this deep on the other side. Well, if you don't start this deep, you start shallower, you don't have to go as deep on the other side. So we can still fix this without having to go back to the 1930 depth.
The other thing, the reason it's coming back, at that meeting I said that we would bid this project we would request bids from qualified bidders. I never suggested that we would do a formal bidding process. That's changed. There's a number of reasons. And I think either...
Well, primarily, the reason is we already have people, contractors, working out there. So in the last resolution, you authorized direct award, which is you don't have to get any competitive quotes or anything from anybody. You're authorized to go do it. But we said we would try to see if anybody was interested. We're at the point where we really can't go get other people because there are people out there working. There are contractors in, it's almost essentially the same manhole, and we can't interfere with those contracts or we'll incur damages for delay of their contracts. So the recommendation is that we do a direct award to a contractor that's on-site or available to be on-site within like 10 days of approval of this resolution. So, and this isn't about trying to narrow competition. This is about, you can't put two contractors in the same hole. And so we're going to have to just do a direct award, and it's going to, ultimately, it will save money because if we use contractors that are already on site, there's no mobilization costs associated with this contract. It should be a cost savings.
Good. Questions from council? Yes, up to the mic.
Yeah, what diameter pipe was in here, and what diameter are you replacing it with?
I'm going to have to look at Lila. They don't let me go outside.
Well, Lila's coming up. I will mention that Gary came to me here last week and said, wouldn't it be possible to put two lines in so that if the technology ever allowed it, we could do something with the overflow. One of these pipes is a storm sewer for ODOT. The other pipe is our overflow for the Nelscott lift station. And so now we have two pipes that we'll be crossing, so Gary, you ought to be real happy about that.
Yeah. Let's do 3.
So your question, Gordy, the old pipe was an 18-inch. The new pipe will be an 18-inch for the stormwater outlet, and the sewer overflow pipe will be a 12-inch pipe. And they'll both go to the same inlet, which will be approximately 12 feet deep.
All right. Any other questions from council?
I would move that we accept resolution number 2014-09.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve with a second to approve resolution number 2014-09. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. I might note that Councilor Quant and Councilor Ellingson joined the council.
Thank you.
Dick Anderson,
Yes.
Gordon Eggleton,
Yes.
Gary Ellingson,
Yes.
Chester Norikis,
Yes.
Henry Quant,
Abstain.
Wes Ryan,
Yep.
and Roger Sprague.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any other business for the council? All right. With that, then, we stand adjourned.
Yes, sir.